Hey, gonna do another quick gig video here. Had a really easy one on Saturday. It was a simple comedy show, Live Nation show. Rob Delaney with an opener. Michelle Belinkie was the support act, but Rob Delaney doing comedy. Pretty simple show. It was one guy with a mic. Had obviously a few bits and pieces in addition to that, but got some pictures here that I was able to take along the way. We used an installed system, so this was a pure walk-on, really simple, and thought I'd walk through that. Back at Sixth and I, using their installed system, which pretty straightforward system. It's a Soundcraft GB-2. It's the rack-mounted console, really simple, and that's in a nice case that they have that lets me open it up and access the back for patching. Really straightforward show. It's 58 on a stand, pretty standard for comedy with a 58 as a backup on the floor. You can see in the floor pocket here, they have floor pockets all over the stage. Thought we'd show those real quick. I've got a pair of mic inputs right down stage center. I've got a return line for the monitor. All that's in the monitor is a talkback for me at front of house, and obviously the primary microphones. There's nothing really else to put in there. But you can see there's a patch point there to get the monitor wedge and some power there. So we're using a pair of little Eon 10s on this gig. That's what the house has. They totally work for just spoken word reinforcement. This room's pretty interesting. I believe it's somewhere around 5 or 6 zones. There's the main left-right speakers. There's some outfills. There's an under balcony delay ring. There are upstairs balcony that are in line with the front of house, and there's also a delayed balcony ring along with front fills along the lip of the stage, which you can see in some of the photos. You can see in the amp rack picture here, pretty straightforward, bunch of Crown amps. Those are two 600 drive core installation amps there. CTS series 4200 and 8200 amplifiers, and then also a CX404 in there driving. I believe that guy's driving the front fills, but I could be incorrect on that. Have to go back and look at the exact wiring. They've changed that around a little bit recently. They just replaced their front fills. They had some Meyer, really small little Meyer boxes in there that they were okay, but they weren't really very loud for what they needed. So they just had everything replaced. So that's the basic system. Really simple Soundcraft console. Bunch of different speakers, all processed in that drive rack that we saw backstage. Very simple for the operator to walk up to. The one complaint I have is that at front of house you really just have the console to work with. It's not a digital board, obviously, so you don't have any real extensive ability to do much processing out there. You can do volume, you can do channel EQ, and all your routing, but there's no dynamics, and it would be helpful, especially with comedy, to be able to get a compressor in line there on certain events. But for this one, it was just fine. Definitely didn't have any problems. Had some suggestions to talk about. I want to take the opportunity. This is such a simple gig. Essentially, all we were doing is running a microphone from stage, voice of God at front of house for announcements and intros. There was iPod, there was a record line going to a laptop, there was a camera on hand to record it as well. They took a feed. So essentially very simple, and these are the kind of jobs that, you look at them on the onset and you say, oh, that's really simple, doesn't take much to it. But when you get to the level where it's a national touring act or a big promoter doing a comedy show like this, they're bringing you in as a freelance engineer, as a walk-on, to pay attention to all those little details, obviously, and if something does go wrong, to understand how the system's working as a whole. So to understand where, what's going on in that amp rack and how to troubleshoot. And, luckily on this night, nothing went wrong. I've definitely had walk-ons similar to this that are super simple. And then, say an amplifier goes down and your balcony speakers are no longer working. Having the understanding to be able to run back into the amp rack, come up with a new wiring configuration to make what you have left in the amp rack work to power what's going on. That'd be one example of why they're paying to have somebody come out to mix one microphone, where it's really simple. It's oftentimes not the content of the show or how challenging the mix is that they're asking a professional to come out for. They want you there in case something goes wrong. That's when you need to be able to spring into action and come up with solutions. So thankfully, there are people out there that see the value in what we do. Another instance on this, I asked 2 times on this show during the setup if anybody was coming to record it. Do I need to put out a press multi feed, anything like that? And I was told twice no, because that's the information we had at the time. Then maybe 10 minutes before the show, the situation did arise where we needed to record both the audio and send a video feed of audio to the video recording. So it came up at the last minute. It was a bit of a scramble just because the doors were open, people were in the house, we were getting ready to kick the show off, and obviously we didn't have all the cables and things we need right there to make that happen. And scramble a little bit, and you pull those kind of things together really quickly. That's what they're hiring us for. That's the kind of stuff that you need to be prepared for, not necessarily how difficult it is to mix one mic. That can be the easy part. Luckily, the audio, generally, the actual mixing of the audio tends to be the fun and easy bit. It's all the other problem solving that's the reason we're there. Also had a suggestion from a viewer to talk a little bit about getting to the gig on time and being prepared and things like that. This is a really good instance. It's a super simple gig. I'm not bringing anything beyond myself, my carry bag, headphones, my usual stuff that we've gone over before. But you still need to be on time prepared. You're the one person, if you're freelancing in the audio position especially, you're the one person that needs to be there, or one of the few people that really needs to be there before anybody else. This particular job, I did not have to be. I wasn't required to be there before 5:30, but I got there at 4:30 just to set up and make sure that all of my stuff was checked. Everything I needed was in-house and set up and working before anybody else arrived. Reason being is because things do pop up, and a lot of times other people will be waiting for audio or waiting for you to do your job before they can do their job. So it's really important to be able to be prepared, get there early. In this instance, I live maybe 15 minutes from the venue by train, but I leave typically an hour or so to get across town or to get down to any venue in town. That leaves me enough time to get lunch, get a coffee, get in, be prepared, things like that. And, in this situation, for instance, there was an unexpected delay on the train. I got downtown, and there's also a hockey game going on that night. Which tens of thousands of people are showing up for. So paying attention to things like weather, traffic, what's going on near the venue, not just what's happening at the venue you're working at, really, really important for folks, especially if you're just starting out in this business and you're being called to do jobs. You got to be early. Be an hour early. A lot of people 15 minutes early. That's fine, but in a city, you got to park. You got to find the venue. A lot of times you have to find the venue and then find the dock, which is on a different part of the entrance will be on a different street than the entrance to the actual venue that you're working at. You got to find parking. You've got to, if you want a coffee or anything like that, that's, obviously not mandatory, but you need to be ready to go at the venue, physically standing there, ready to go 15 minutes before call time is typically a good rule. So if you want to get in the area to be prepared for that, you want to be more than 15 minutes early to the call time if you want to be able to park and get all that stuff handled, or if you're taking public transit like I do, leave some leeway. Punctuality. If you're not on time, the rest of us are sunk. If we've got a load in, I had this happen over the summer with a crew. I had a 30-foot truck ready to be loaded into a venue. It's pouring rain outside. We've got multiple other vendors coming behind us. Decor was coming. There was video coming. There was all sorts of other folks coming that needed to use a limited size amount of dock space. And I had a 30-foot truck packed front to back with everything from rigging, steel, lights, audio, lifts, all sorts of stuff was on this truck. Just an absolute, full ton of stuff. And it was pouring down rain, and the guys I had called to load in, all of them were late. They had all decided, instead of driving together as they said they would, there's 4 guys, instead of driving together, they all decided to take public transit, which is fine. But they didn't prepare, didn't leave themselves enough time, didn't check the correct schedule, and in the end they were all late. They were all 15 to 20 minutes late. getting there. And at that point, we had myself and the other two leads on the gig, the other two guys that were going to be there all night programming and doing all the actual audio, video, and lighting work. We ended up unloading the truck by ourselves, which, you know, in the rain was no fun. But the guys that we had hired just to help with the general labor were all late and frankly useless at that point. You show up 20 minutes late to a load-in, either you've screwed us all and now we're all 20 minutes later, we've already done the work. So, and that's just necessary. And in that situation, we had to get off the dock to allow other vendors in. There was no choice to wait around and do it later. So punctuality, super, super important. If you're new to this business, be early, be extra early. Go get a coffee, get a lunch, hang out. Make sure that you're prepared so that you're ready to work. You know, before the call time, you are somewhere that makes sense. You're not milling around on a different side of the building. If you're unsure about how to, where we're loading in, things like that, call somebody that's your point of contact. Another good thing when you're advancing jobs and you're getting asked to do jobs is to, you know, ask who the point of contact is on the job. If you get there and you have any sort of issue, who do you need to call? Who can you text? Who can you get a hold of quickly if something's not right? Always have identification, always have ID with you. A lot of venues, especially here in DC, you cannot get in through the service entrances, or you can't work without handing in or showing an ID, and it's got to be current. The amount of guys I've had come out on gigs with expired IDs, you're not getting into federal buildings with those. So that's it. Just wanted to run over some pretty basic stuff. It's really important stuff, though. If you're new to the business or if you're just getting out on your first jobs, punctuality, be prepared, be on time, be ahead of the curve, be ahead of the game. Asking what's mandatory versus trying to figure out for yourself what you can do just to be a little more prepared. It's going to go a long way. You know, being on site, being ready to go, having an idea of what's happening as much as you can situationally is a really big deal. That kind of shows that you're a bigger picture thinker to the guys hiring you, and you know, you become more part of the team. It's a tough business. There's lots of late nights. There's a lot of running around town trying to find the right place, and it's a pain in the butt. And if everybody makes it easier on each other, people want to continue to work with people like that are a good team. You don't want to end up feeling like you're babysitting, chasing guys around, trying to figure out where the heck they are, or why they're late, or why they're not where you asked them to be. That's a complete pain in the ass. And even if that person's a great crew member otherwise, if I've got to babysit you getting your car parked, or finding parking, or getting in and out of the venue, or finding directions, it's only going to go so far before I just can't enjoy working with you. You know, you got to step up a little bit and be prepared. So that's some advice there on just getting to the gig, being ready for it. And hopefully this was an interesting little look at a super easy job. Let me know if you have any questions about the event, about the system, about anything. And we've got more videos coming this week. Thanks.